All right, hi everybody. It's Mariana with Three Piece Classroom. It's been a hot minute since I've recorded my last YouTube video. Last year was a crazy year online teaching, but a lot of personal things happened in my life. So I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to be recording more YouTube videos for the meanwhile, for the time being, because for those of you that saw my recent post on Instagram, we are expecting in December, so very exciting news. But yeah, this video today has been very highly requested. It is my classroom economy video. What is it? How do I do it? How do I set it up? How can you do it? What are some things I learned along the way? Tips and tricks, things I would do differently next time around, or in following years, what would I do differently? And why you should have one if you don't already have an economy system. I teach grade 3 and grade 4. This next year I'm moving up to grade 4 until I go on mat leave. But I have done the classroom economy system with my grade 3 class. And I even have colleagues that have been inspired by what's going on in my classroom, and they started doing it in their room as well. Most notably, my grade 1 buddy, she started it in her class with a very simple, just a cash system, good job, here's a buck, and then very simple, none of these prizes or jobs or rent or anything like that. So anyways, there's a lot to talk about, there's a lot to cover here, but I'm going to go over some specifics. So I've kind of grouped them in themes. So first part, I'm just going to talk about overview, what is an economy system, what are some things that I'll be talking about, and then I'm going to break it down into specific chunks. So the first chunk I'll talk about is how do you set it up in your classroom at the beginning of the year? Because if you want to do it the way that I do it, it does take a little bit of prep, not that much, but if you want to be successful, it takes a little bit of prep. We're going to go over jobs. So I have my pages here of different jobs that the kids can apply for. So we'll go over that. We're going to go over what payday looks like, what fines look like, auction day, things like that. The next topic we'll talk about is bonus money and then fines. And that's a hot topic, but we'll talk about that. I also want to mention parent involvement. That's something that I haven't noticed a lot of in some of the YouTube videos that I've been watching for how other teachers set up their classroom economies, but I do have parents that get involved with our economy, just minimally, but I think it's really important that they are involved. And then the last two things are what I would do a little bit differently, having done the first round very thoroughly. What would I do differently? And then the last topic I'll talk about is why I think you guys should have an economy in your class as well. Okay, so let's get started. What is a classroom economy system anyways? Well, a classroom economy is sort of like a management system. I don't want to say it's behavior management, although that is a side benefit, let me tell you. Okay, it's just an economy system in the classroom is a way of teaching students a real life example of financial understanding, of having financial literacy. In an economy system, the kids have to earn money, but they're also going to experience losing money, fines. They also have experience with paying a monthly rent, making sure that they earn enough money to cover their monthly rent, learning the value of saving, the hard work that's involved in saving money, and also, understanding the value in rewarding yourself for a lot of hard work. So, maybe saving some for some prizes and some fun things that you can physically purchase in the class. In my classroom economy system, I know there's tons of different ways that teachers do it. In my class economy system, we have a monthly rent. So every last Friday of the month, the students get paid their salary, and we're going to talk about that when we come to jobs. Their salary plus some supplementary income should be enough to cover their monthly rent. And then any sort of additional money that they have can either be saved and put towards ownership of their desk, or they can use some of their money or all of their money for the monthly auction, where the students have the option of purchasing fun little items that they can take home. In the classroom economy system, they do earn a salary by performing a job that they apply for. but also their job doesn't cover their salary, so they need to earn supplementary income. Just little things like that, that if you are a hardworking student, you should be able to earn a lot of supplementary income in addition to your salary. So we'll talk in more detail about the bonuses and the fines. The jobs, again, every student in the class is going to get a job. I change my jobs every halfway through the year, so I found that it's quite involved. Applying for the job, getting a letter of recommendation, which we'll talk about, and training for the job, as well as performing your job. I found that it was easier for me just to have it 2 times in the year. So they apply first in September, and then they apply again in February, I believe it is. All right, so let's dive into the first topic, setting up the classroom economy system. I based my classroom economy on a program that you can get online, and I actually got everything delivered to my house. Everything, all the printed material. So, setup. I gave each of my students, I pre-made a folder, and in this folder is everything that they needed to know for the classroom economy. Inside each folder, on this side are 2 pages. The first one is basically a information page for parents, and so this is a first example. I give this page home to each student that first Friday of the school year, and I get parents to read it and then sign it and bring it back. And then if they bring it the very first day back, they get a $. That's what I call the economy in my class, sorry. They get a $. So that's a quick way for them to earn cash right off the bat. So it just explains what they're going to be learning about and the fact that we're implementing it in our classroom. Behind that is a job application form, and this is going to go along when we talk about jobs. But the students are going to look at the jobs, learn about the responsibilities of each job, and then depending on whether they think that's a good fit for them, they pick their first choice, second choice, and third choice. And we talk about how, sometimes you don't always get your first choice, and perhaps there's a job that's very popular, and let's say 15 kids apply for that job, but the job only has 5 spots to be filled, then naturally you would be considered maybe for a second choice or your third choice. Now, there are 2 jobs, we'll talk about it, that require a letter of recommendation from a former teacher or staff member in the school. And we'll talk about that when we get to the jobs, but that part's pretty exciting. Then on this side are a few things. The first is their wallet. Just to keep things simple the very first year, I just gave them a paper envelope. And of course, I was always raised that you never give a wallet empty. So my students get $1 to start their classroom economy, and this is where they get to keep all their cash. And the first day when they get their money, I always tell them to decorate. One thing I would do differently next time, though, is I would maybe spring for a little bit of a nicer wallet. So I've seen some teachers use pencil cases or things like that. But quite honestly, a paper envelope is not the end of the world, because my students kept their envelopes tucked inside of their folders and in their desks. So these didn't get wrecked so much, not as much as the folders did. But anyways, that's something to think about if you would like to have some sort of a wallet. Then inside the folder, again, this is something I'm going to do differently next year. We have a bank log. And the students would write down the date. They would write down the transaction. So is it a deposit or a withdrawal? And then they would write down the correct amount under the correct column. So if they're depositing $2, they would write down a 2, and then what would their balance be? And their balance would be $2. And then the next time, if they were depositing it again, let's say they're depositing another $2, their balance would be $4. This I found to be quite tricky for my students. We practiced using this for about 3 months before I decided to ditch it. I thought that having my students write it down and then the bankers checking it would be sufficient. It wasn't. So my personal experience is that I am not going to use a bank log in my grades 4 class this coming year, but I would try and use it in grades 5 or 6. But my students just found it was very confusing. They would just write, like, whatever they were depositing, they would just write that same number on the end, and it wasn't the same. And so they had a hard time understanding that you have to either subtract or add the totals. So The second thing you're going to need to prepare for your classroom economy is your list of jobs. So I came up with a list of jobs that I like to use in my classroom, and I'm going to go over each of them with you. I'm going to explain what it looks like and why there's a number on the bottom. I display these in my class all year long, and so I dedicate one bulletin board to kind of the economy stuff. That way, if a student forgets what their responsibility is as a banker, for example, they can come back and check what they're supposed to do. After about a few months, though, kids have a really good understanding of what their job entails. But in the beginning, this is really good reference. I also would take a picture of each of my students and I would put it next to or on the paper so that I could recognize these 5 kids are my bankers in the class. So the jobs that I have are a banker. And this is the most involved job in the class. It pays the most. It's the highest salary. This is one of 2 jobs that require a letter of recommendation, which means if you want to be a banker, you have to go to a previous staff or teacher and ask them to recommend you for this position. The teacher has to say that you are a responsible and honest student who is not going to cheat their classmates out of money. They're not going to pocket money themselves. They are responsible. Anyways, banker was one of those high-profile jobs. It pays $70 for the month, and I don't think I mentioned yet, but rent for my desk in my classroom is $100. Just to keep it flat. So this is the highest paid salary position in my class, and it doesn't quite cover the salary, or the rent, I should say. So $70, 5. I have 5 bankers, and this depends on how many kids are in my class, but I had about 26 students in my class 2 years ago, pre-COVID, and so I would assign 5 kids for each banker. So I had 5 kids in the class that were bankers, and their responsibilities were they would keep the bank records for the kids. Again, I'm not doing bank records this time around, but we are doing something a little different, and I'll explain that in a minute. They would accept money for deposits, but they would also take money out for the students for withdrawals. And then they would be doing payouts for Payday, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I will talk about my bank system when we talk about Payday. So, banker is one job. I have a police officer. Police officer is my second most prestigious position. It's $65 a month, and 4 kids are chosen as my police officers. Basically, they are watching to see if any students are violating any of the rules. They hand out fines to students under my guidance, and they keep a record of fines and payments, and then they deposit any sort of money that they've received from the fines. They deposit it to the teacher. Then I have a classroom assistant. This one pays $60, and I have 3 students in my class that are my assistants. Basically, they handle any sort of task that I ask them to do. Handing out books, textbooks, materials, picking up textbooks, materials, things like that. They would maybe help me organize and sort classroom art supplies, collect papers, maybe, I don't know, collect homework from students, or help the teacher in any way that the teacher asks. So, assistant is a very hot job as well. I changed the salary on a custodial job because I found that the first time not many students were applying for the custodial position. And so I changed it so that it was a higher salary. It's the second highest salary in my class. So similar to a police officer. And so my custodian wipes my whiteboards, countertops, desktops, things like that. They tidy up the classroom and the floor. My Lord, they tidy up the floor before the end of the day. And then they also make sure that, they take a quick look in the garbage and recycling bins just to make sure that students have been putting the waste or recyclables in the correct bins. So that's another job in my class. Librarian, I love having a librarian in the class. The librarian keeps all of my books nice and tidy and organized. They remind students to return library books on the specific day. So our library day was on Tuesdays, and so they would remind students to bring back their books on every Monday. They would take the library books early in order for them to be scanned back, and then they would help to return all of the library books back on the shelves with the librarian's help. And the salary for that was $55, and I had 2 students to help me with that task. I loved having librarians in the class. Awesome. Okay, the next one I had was a homework monitor. Basically, the homework monitor would go around and they would check agendas for signatures every morning, and the salary for a homework monitor is $60, and I get 2 students to check it. We all love our technology these days. I do have a job dedicated to technology, and that is my tech supervisor. The technology supervisor, I have lamps in the class, so they turn off the lamps or make sure that the classroom lights are turned off every day when we leave, and they also assist with technology. It pays $60, and I have 2 people to take care of that. You guys know me. I love my plants. In my class, I do have many plants. So I have a plant expert. It's just one person. Their salary is $50 because the job does not have that many tasks, I should say. And they just have to water the plants every Monday and Friday, and then let the teacher know if there's any dead or issues with any of them. Calendar helper. So we have a calendar in our class that we refer to for important dates in the class. So they would be responsible for writing the calendar date on my whiteboard every morning. They would also keep our calendar updated, so they would cross out the days that we were done, and they would also inform the class of any important holidays or events that are happening in the class. They would make sure that everybody knew about that. So I just had 1 student to do that, and it's $60. All right, this was a huge one. Coat room monitor. We have a coat room in front of my classroom, and the amount of students that have stuff laying on the floor or garbage in their, cubbies is just mind-boggling to me. So I actually ended up upping this, and I had 2 people become my coat room monitors, and again, making sure that all of their outdoor and indoor shoes were properly lined up and put away neatly, making sure that the floor in the coat room was clear of any garbage, and make sure that students hung up their belongings properly. So that was $60, and I actually will change that to 2 kids this coming year. We have a milk program in my school. So my milk monitor will take milk orders every day, and then they take the milk card to the parent kitchen where they fill it out, and then they are responsible for picking up the milk order, bringing it back, wiping the card clean for the next day. So 1 person is responsible for that, and $65 because this does take up a lot of responsibility every day. This is something that needs to be done every day. So $65. Anyways, those were all of my jobs that I thought were necessary in my class. But again, you do what is right for you. The last couple things for preparing for the school year is just some informational pages. So I'm going to go through each one of these. And these are 3 pages that I also included up on my bulletin board, and that way students can reference it all the year long in case they had a question. So it costs $100 to rent a desk in my classroom. So at the end of the month, the students need to have saved up $100. They can also save up their money for a one-time desk purchase of $300. And when students see this number, they think it's out of reach. And we talk about if you had saved up your money and purchased a desk, then you wouldn't have any rent to pay, and then all of your salary that you earn would go into your savings account. And we talk about that, and the kids are pretty intrigued by that. On the bottom of this page, it says, if you miss a rental payment, you will not be able to participate in the auction that month. If you miss 2 payments in a row, your desk is taken away. It's a harsh reality, but it is a reality. If you miss your rent payment, the first payment that you miss, you get a grace, but the second one, not so nice, right? So I had 2 students lose their desks 2 years ago, and it wasn't very fun. So they got to still sit on their chair, but they didn't have a table to write on. They just got a little clipboard, and all of their stuff was around them. And it was a little embarrassing, but it was a really good lesson that needed to be learned, and it kind of spooked everybody else that, oh boy, the teacher is serious about this. So this is a page that I keep up on my bulletin board next to all of my jobs list. And then something else that I prepare is a basic bonus and fines list. But with discussion and consultation with my students, I get them to add, or I get them to suggest things that would go on the fines and the bonus list. So let's go over the bonus list. That's the fun one. So what are some bonus items in my class that the students can earn supplementary income? So if you get your agenda signed every day of the week, then on Fridays you earn $3. If you get your home reading signed for every day of the week, then, I said on Friday, if you get it signed for every day of the week, then the following Monday you get $3 as well. If you pick up a small bag of litter from the outside, from recess time, you get $2. If you get a compliment from another teacher, so if the teacher comes to me and tells me a compliment about one of my students, or if another student, if a few students can witness the compliment being shared, then that particular student gets $5. One time my students went to the music room for their music class, and the music teacher gave the entire class a compliment for their behavior. And so they came back and they said, well, we all got a compliment, so don't we all get $5? And I went, yeah, I guess you do. So I had to hand out a $5 bill to each one of my students after music class. But you know what? That's fine by me. If that means that if their music class was well behaved and they did a lot of learning and it was great for the teacher, I will give you all the money in the world. It was fantastic. Another item that they can receive money, a very simple way, I do a morning message every morning in my class. It's a quick little 3-4 sentences where the students have to edit for grammar, spelling, punctuation, things like that. When I check it, if you got all of the errors correct and you fix them all up on your very first try, then you get $1. I've had issues in the past where the students would scribble because they want to be done first in order to go do a STEM bin. And then I would check it, and it was a waste of my time because I'd check it right away and I'd go, no, I can see a mistake. You need to go back and edit it again. So this time it really encourages them to double check that they caught all of the mistakes, and then they get $1. Okay, really quickly, some other bonus items on the list. If you move up a reading level in my class after a reading test, you get $20. If you get 100% on a major test in the class, a major test, a major project, or a major assignment, $20 as well. And we usually have a test or an assignment every month like that. That's a big one. And so there's a big chunk that they can earn right there. If they get 95% to 100%, so 99%, they'll get $10. So still a good effort. If a teacher catches you being kind to another student, you get $1. I'll just slip $1 to them. If you bring your form back signed the very next day, $1. And once in a while, I can go around and look inside your desk. And if your desk is looking pretty good, I will put $1 on your desk. So that is a list of all of our bonuses. And I keep this up on my bulletin board. And actually the students, they reference it quite a bit because maybe they think oh darn, I'm $10 short this month. What are some quick ways that I can earn some cash? Okay, I'm going to pick up a bag of litter and I'm going to make sure that I do really good on my morning message tomorrow, and I'm going to clean my desk right now, and right away there I can get $5, right? All right. The fines list. Let me tell you. In order for the classroom economy system to work in your class, you need to be firm and fair. And we've heard that many times before. But the reason why I say that is because the most egregious fine in my class is dishonesty. If you are caught lying, it is a $40 fine. Rudeness, $10. A messy desk or a messy cubby is also $10. That's a big fine, a big one. And messy is like papers pouring out or garbage or things like that, just really messy. Untidy that's not a fine, it's a warning, but a messy desk is $10. Missing homework. If you come to school and you do not have your homework completed, that is a $5 fine. If you are off task, if you are not working on what you're supposed to be working in my class, after a warning, it's a $5 fine. And speeding, I thought of naming it speeding instead of running in the hallways. If you are running in the hallways or speeding, then the police officers can write you up for a $5 fine. Anyways, those are my fines list. Okay, so we talked about setting up your wallets, jobs, folders, all of these info sheets that we just went over. And the last thing that you need to prepare is money. Like I said, if you purchase the Classroom Economy system, or not purchase, if you download it for free, or if you sign up for it, they will mail it to you for free. You do not have to pay a single thing. I am going to use Canadian money this next time around because I think that's important for the students. So you can play Canadian money in tons of stores. So, all right, that is the setup. Now, going over the jobs, I already went through the jobs in detail. Let's talk about Payday. So once you've had your economy system rolling in your classroom and the kids are doing their jobs and it's getting towards the end of the month, then it's time for Payday. So basically, I have a student, an assistant, or all of my assistants in the class. They look at who does what job. So let's say, Johnny is the banker. Then they would write out a paycheck for each of my students for the month. So they would write, September 30th, $70, paid to the order of Johnny, and then you would write in letters $70 for banker, and then I would come and sign each of them to make sure that they are done correctly. So my assistants would write out all the paychecks. Then when it comes time to get paid, my assistants would hand these out to the correct students, and the student would take their paycheck and go to the banker, and the banker would take the paycheck and they would open up their bank. I purchased these at Dollarama, although I was looking for ones that had 5 tiers, but anyways. So all of their money is inside these little drawers. This is the bank's money, not the student's money, the bank's money. And they would say, oh, okay, Johnny, you get $70, so let me get $70 for you out of the bank. And then something totally extra, you do not need this in your class, but the kids love it, is a little paid stamp. So then they would say, okay, I don't know which way this is. Perfect. I paid your paycheck. So that way the banker knows I've already paid it, and you don't get a chance to get paid again. And then remember that folder I showed you in the beginning? The students keep track of their paychecks right here on the right-hand side. So then they get paid. And what does a student's wallet or bank account looks like? This is what the bankers also keep. And this is a record or a safe of all of the students' money. So let's say they get paid $50 or $70, okay? So I get 50 and a 20. Where's the 20? Perfect. Here's my $70. But of course, I need to pay rent. So I'm going to go into my wallet with all of the money that I've accumulated in the class for, my good homework and my agendas and all that. And I'm going to count up $100. The student opens up their wallet very carefully and they have to count out exactly $100. So they do a 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. And you can see how this process is helping them to do mental math in their head, but also they're skip counting, because if they have tens, they're going 10, 20, 30. You wouldn't believe how hard that is to do with students on the spot when it's their money, right? So anyways, they get their $100 ready and they pay the bank. So then they go to the banker again, and the banker takes their money and puts it in the correct drawer. And then I have a paper on the top here that says Johnny has paid his rent for October. Then Johnny looks at his money and he thinks, well, I do want to have some money for my auction, but I don't want to spend all my money. So I am going to take, let's see, $30, and I'm going to keep it for myself for the auction. So I'm allowing myself a treat, $30 to buy something at the auction. The rest of my money, and I talk about this with my students, we want to keep it safe. We do not want to keep our money in an envelope in our desk because, unfortunately, somebody could go in and steal it. We hope that doesn't happen, but when you think about it in real life, do you keep all of your salary in a wallet in your home? No, we keep it in the bank. So, every student has a slot in their banker's bank account, I guess. And so Johnny's is, let's say, the first one. So I would have Johnny's name here. So Johnny would take all the rest of his cash that he saved up for the month and he would put it in his bank account. That way it's safe. This is where if you wanted to do the bank logs, you could, but it would take a little bit more time for them to organize that. So Johnny's money is safe in the bank, and that way if he needs to pay some fines the next month, he knows he has some savings in here. Or if he wants to save up to buy that desk, he knows that he is slowly saving up his money. Once payday is all taken care of and you've paid for your desk, then it's time for the auction. Johnny has $30 that he gets to spend at his auction. What I do at the beginning of the year and talking about parent involvement, in the letter that I send home to the parents, I ask the parents to please, if they would like to donate small items, could be sports equipment, it could be craft items, it could be silly items like this. It doesn't matter as long as it's something that your child would want to purchase. I collect all these items and I put them in a bin. I do not display everything. Oh my goodness, that would be a lot of things. I probably put out maybe 15 items, 10 items, things like that, depending on how many things that I have. And what I do before auction day is I actually will put a starting bid on an item. So here we have my football. I will put starting bid at $15. That way the students know they need to have at least $15 in order for a chance to even purchase this. So they have $15 minimum to buy this. So when it comes time to auction, I'll say, all right, everybody, here, next up, we have a football starting at $15. Do I have any takers? And everyone that's interested in purchasing it for $15, they put their hand up. And I say, okay, now the football is $20. And so some kids might put their hands down or some kids will keep their hands up. Johnny is waiting for $30. Let's say that the auction gets up to $30 and he's the last one standing, then Johnny gets it. He comes up to me right away, hands me the $30, and I hand him the football, and that's it. And this I keep and I put it in the classroom bank. And then sometimes I've had students patiently waiting for items and they did not have enough money to purchase it because somebody outbid them. And so that experience allows them to realize that I need to earn more supplementary income in order to be able to outbid all of my friends in the classroom economy auction. I've also had students purchase items like these around Christmas time for gifts for their siblings, and I think that's a wonderful idea. That is the payday and that's auction. I've talked to you about parent involvement. I would also, something that I would do differently next time is for that very first payday and auction, I would ask if a parent or a teacher or maybe even a grade 6 student could come and help out with that very first payday, just so that we know that we're counting money properly, that we're covering our rent properly, that we're getting paid properly, and that we have enough money for auctions and things like that. So I would highly recommend that for that very first payday that you have a second or even 3 sets of hands to help you out with that first go around. The classroom economy system helps students to understand the value of hard work, rent and ownership, and saving. Not very many times in our young lives do we have the opportunity to earn money and have an expectation that we pay, so a responsibility that we pay a portion of our salary. And then it also is teaching us that if we blow all of our extra savings on fun items like this, the next month what if we accidentally have a few little mishaps and we have some extra fines? So it definitely teaches kids about the value of money and saving, but also putting away a little bit of money to treat yourself, because life is not just all about working. Life is also about treating yourself too a little bit. All right, my friends, thank you very, very much for watching. I know this was a very long video, but I wanted to cover all of the bases of the classroom economy system. If you have any questions, please let me know down below in the comments. I will link that website, My Classroom Economy. I will link it in the description below, so you don't have to go search for it. I will link it there. If you have any questions, or if you do a classroom economy in your class already, I would love to know how that goes. Have a wonderful day. If you haven't subscribed yet, please, I would love for you to do that, because I'm hoping to make some more videos before baby comes. Yeah, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.